What's good, y'all? This video is all about Magda and if she is going to be useful for your account. Because in comparison to Dahlia, Magda has way more applications in current content than your average Dahlia. And it might even make the decision easier if you want to try to pity manipulate on the Dahlia banner. But enough of that, this is going to be a showcase and a guide, basically. So, as usual, we'll be going over the abilities with how they look in-game, and then we'll actually go into real content. Just a little side note, she's called Magda, but in a collaboration between me, Arcturus, and Lyle on Discord, back in August of last year, we came up with the name Zilly Blue, because this is basically Zilly 2 in blue. Enough of the jokes, let's actually get straight into the kit. So, we always start with the talent. When an ally dies in range, crit damage increases by 70% for 12 seconds. So, what is her range? We should know, huh? Her range is a 2-tile range, so basically like Volker, and that is her standard range, which does change with the ultimate. Base stat wise, we have rather low-ish attack for a fighter at 4300, the HP at 18,000 is rather decent, the magic resistance could be worked on, and the attack interval isn't actually 1.3 but 2.5, which is rather high but still pretty good for a fighter. So yeah, that is Magda and her base stats for you. So how can you make use of this when an ally dies in range talent? The answer is pretty simple. Either the tank in front of her dies, which is the less likely scenario, or you use someone like the Suicide Gang. And if you're wondering who could be the Suicide Gang are people like Cerberus, and come on, where's the other one? Where's the last member of the Suicide Gang? There we go, Aatrox, right? The synergy between Cerberus, Aatrox and her is pretty good. And for those wondering if you can take advantage of Laurel dying in her range, yes, but only in ultimate, as you'll see in a bit. So that was the talent. Now AoE magic attack deals 120% AoE damage to 5 enemies in range. So actual damage to multiple enemies in range. It is also AoE damage, and we also know how many. 5 is really nothing too bad. Then we have something that if you are probably curious about is no, she does not hit air. We have Electric Torrent. The caster and allies in range gain penetration increase and damage increase. Penetration increase is a buff that we've only seen on, I believe it's either Twin Fiend or Pyrus, or the two of them, and what it does is it allows units to ignore 15% of defense and magic rest that only takes effect if it's stronger than the current buff, and the damage increase is going to be a 20% one. Next off, we have Deadly Thrust. Upon triggering the talent, so if an ally dies in range, or the ultimate, her basic attacks knock back enemies, and that lasts for 10 seconds. This is basically as if Edith had actually useful knockback outside of Gear Dungeon 2. That is what you have right here. And then the ultimate. Each attack lands 3 strikes for 30 seconds, which each dealing 160% AoE damage. And what you can't quite see here is that there's a range change, so you'll already have seen it in the showcase. Here we go, time for Gear Rate 121. So we have a Curse Lord. The Curse Lord doesn't need any gear, doesn't need anything specific. Then we have Aatrox. Aatrox is running an Infernal Roar set, but to be honest, I don't think you actually really need to gear him. Then we have the star of the show, Magda. Magda is running a pretty good Sorbonne Arcana set, I gotta admit. So 200% attack, 300 attack speed, 100% crit, 230% crit damage. And then a ramp here. We're actually going to give her a Frigid Flame. Alright, then we have Hollow. Hollow's in the Rage Region set with high attack speed, high Rage Region. That's about it. Laura is in invigoration set. Another invigoration set on Volker. Vortex is wearing standard Vortex gear, so high HP, high attack speed, decent healing effect. Mary is going to rock high attack speed, high rage regen, and a rage regen artifact. And then you get Constance. So Constance has high attack, some attack speed, and then a bit of rage regen. And yeah, let's have a look at 121. So the important part here is, no, you do not need so good gear on your Magda. You might as well just give her something else. But I guess we are kind of just trying to show her off, right? But more of the show her off part. So basically what's going to happen is Magda is going to do Magda things, and Magda doesn't need anyone else. That's pretty much it. So enemies come in, we activate Magda, we activate Constance, and we also bring in Aatrox. So the reason why we bring Aatrox is just so he can die. If Aatrox dies, then Magda gets extra knockback and extra 70% crit. And I guess you can already kind of see from the damage in the first wave here, with her having over 12 seconds left on her ultimate and having completely cleared out the first wave, that something is gonna go very, very right with her in this run. Also, what we haven't done yet is given her an invigoration buff. So let's see if it happens. There we go, invigoration did land on her. Nice. And let's hope we can get Vortex in before Mary dies. Okay, here we go, Vortex in, nice one. Let's fast forward time. And here we just activate Hollow so we can get our ult back up. But we are actually going to wait until these guys come in, because those are the ones that are actually going to hurt the wall. And we're also just going to bring in Laurel, and Laurel's only purpose is to make Magda even stronger. Though, to be honest, I don't think it will work, because we have a 20% buff already and hers isn't stronger than 20%. Alright, and then here we go. Big boy damage. We'll just bring in the freeze so we can get that curse element buff too. Can take Laurel out again, bring Aatrox in, because why not? And again, at 12 seconds of ult left, everything's dead. Everything is dead, done and dusted. So yeah, that is that is pretty much very, very ridiculous. So there we go, Aatrox dies again, which means she gets her 70% crit rate. We do get the knockback, but the knockback really isn't all that crucial here. And before we use our ultimate, because we don't really have all that many ways to regenerate ultimate for her, we'll actually wait until the enemies close in. So once again, we let the enemies come in close, we bring in Aatrox. Aatrox dies, we activate Constance, we activate Magda. Vortex ult just in case. Laurel ult, why not? Here we go with the freeze. We can take Laurel out again. And then Magda time. May she strike true and may she kill the enemies. So far she's already hitting pretty much, but what I find interesting is this guy. You see these 10 HP there? That guy is not dead. Alright, and then we go with a bit of rage region again. Freeze with Mary. So Magda is again getting closer to her own ultimate. We activate her ultimate, bring her in, bring Laurel in, and then obviously bring in Aatrox. Let's see if Aatrox actually still dies. The pushback is also really nice crowd control. Here again we can freeze. And would you look at that? Isn't that ridiculous, huh? Would you look at that? She solos this fight, pretty much. She pretty much solos this fight, and there you go. It took her 2 ultimates to deal with the very last wave. She's the only damage dealer here, and her only support is a Constance. If you're wondering if you need a Constance to get this effect, the answer is going to be no. No, you do not. You just bring her in and either face her here, so she clears our face on the left side, or on the right side with the Dolores right here. Or you just bring her in without any invigoration buff and just give her higher, without any Dolores buff, any inspiration buff, and just give her higher attack. And then use your mages to do the most. But, I mean, I guess you can see it. She is really, really, really strong when it comes to taking care of the units there. Because keep in mind, we didn't have any anti-heal units. So, let's have a look at the damage. 202 million. That is ridiculous. Like I said, you don't need any gear on Aatrox. You really do not. So, yeah, honestly, I was expecting something, but I definitely wasn't expecting this. This is crazy. Right, yeah, so time for Gear Dungeon 1. Now, what you've seen in the beginning there is that it's called Stage 10. The reason why it's called Stage 10 is because there's an update and basically they added like 1 or 2 new difficulties to the Gear Dungeons. So this is the highest possible difficulty for Gear Dungeon 1. But the reason why there is no discussion about the build or why it's going at 5 times speed is because Magda's role in this fight isn't special. She could be replaced by, for example, even your Dahlia, right? So what Magda does here isn't special, and I, at least for the moment, I've played around with her around for like 2, 3, 4 hours. The main issue is her knockback doesn't knock back the enemies, like those vampire dudes that actually do the lifesteal, right? So at the bottom lane or at the top lane, she doesn't knock them back. And because they are displacement resistant, she can't solo the top. And because she can't solo the top, we need to place down a tank. And because we need to place down a tank, we also need to place down a healer that ensures that the tank doesn't die. And then the next issue is, there's only one guy that, while still providing anti-heal, because her burst isn't big enough to kill them instantly, still heals, is Artemis, which means you need at least an Artemis for this run. And then you still also need Rage Regen for the top, or you're not going to be able to manage. It's just gonna be like the next wave is gonna arrive before you've even finished with the one before that. So what ends up happening is that you basically need to use Eloin and Artemis, and at that point you might as well just replace Magda with Karmet, Ajax, Dahlia, Anora when she comes out. So it's pretty much a situation of, okay, yeah, she's not that special, you could replace her, but she can still do stage 10, she can still do the damage. So if you're missing someone next to your Karmet or your Verners that you're using for the bottom lane, then especially just for Gear Dungeon 1, she's a safe pickup, she can do the highest possible stage. Alright, now let's go rapid fire through the rest of the content. Guild Boss 2 isn't really going to happen, mainly again because she's more AoE focused rather than single target. Same goes for Guild Boss 1, where she's also not really going to perform. She does perform rather well for a unit that is AoE focused, but it's still not worth focusing on. Then Gear 8 3, I guess it's quite obvious, magic damage and doesn't hit air. Then Gear Dungeon 2, magic damage yes, single target no, so also a no-go. And then what else do we have? AMR. In AMR she's going to perform like any other fighter, but she's still going to get edged out by the ones that are more single target focused, like for example Salazar or even a Deimos. But she can perform there, she can also definitely work at the tops. So for artifact material, she's a good fighter. She's a good fighter. Now, Immortal Codex. We can't really talk about them, but there's only one. That's going to be the Conqueror Codex. In the Conqueror Codex, she should be very decent. Very decent. But I can't try her because the Conqueror Codex isn't here at the moment. No, on global. And then there is potential, just potential, that she might work in the Styx Codex because in her ultimate her basic attacks hit 3 times for 30 seconds. So hypothetically speaking, right, let's have a look at her interval. Let's say she has a 1.3 second interval. That means within her 30 second ultimate, she should be hitting 90 times. But the problem also is the stick shield isn't going to wait 30 seconds for her. So unlikely, more of a I don't have anything better to use option. And yeah, I guess that's her for Codex. Arena. Let's have a look at the different and then the last piece of content
we need to talk about is obviously going to be GVG.
It's not gonna
Now,
happen.
do I feel
AOE,
like she's gonna be very relevant?
I can
in
see her
GVG?
there and single target
The answer is gonna be not necessarily.
because of again the
So,
same reasons of
obviously,
her
making
having that
enemy
AOE
formations
focus,
explode
right?
is very, very popular using the explodey boys. But even though she can defend against them with her pushback, her ultimate can be number 1 baited. So you can just bait out her ultimate that she can't push back anymore unless you obviously kill the unit in front of her. And number 2, if you can't bomb them and you have a defender that takes off a slot that can't hit air, then you're just going to go with air units, right? So the issue is that she doesn't hit air. And the reason why Arrogance is so relevant in GVG is because he hits air. She doesn't, so she's not gonna be meta defining, but I do feel like she'll have a spot in GVG in certain comps, especially if you try to combine her with certain other units and make something happen. So yeah, kind of a, yeah, sure, she can work evaluation.